Tonight on The Henry Rollins Show, critically acclaimed actor Tim Roth is here to talk about his starring role in Francis Ford Coppola's first new film in years. Then, an exclusive musical performance from Robyn Hitchcock, who's backed by the Venus 3, which includes R.E.M. guitarist Peter Buck. It's going to be an incredible show. Don't move. Recently, over 16,000 college students completed an evaluation called the Narcissism Personality Inventory, and it was determined that narcissism on college campuses is at an all-time high. Oh no! All over America, healthy, privileged white kids are having mind-blowing sex and looking at each other's young, taut, pert fantasy bodies and saying, "She's hot. I'm hot. We're hot!" And they're feeling pretty fucking good about it. So what? Well, researchers say that this can make later life difficult when these people who perhaps love thyself too much leave the halls of academia for the real world and find they have problems dealing with criticism, fidelity, honesty, establishing meaningful relationships, and other grown-up stuff. Now that's funny. It sounds like I just described the 43rd president of the United States. No, couldn't be. Studies show that NPI levels are steadily rising, which means that in our not too distant future, America could be run by self-interested, super confident elitists who don't give a tinker's cuss about the welfare of their fellow American. I wonder what that would be like. What would be interesting to me is if these researchers conducted an NPI evaluation of the same number of Americans of the same age who are not in college, not privileged, and not so overwhelmingly white, and made a report on those results. Isn't the narcissism quotient of these people just as important, since they're the ones cleaning the pools, sweeping the floors, overcrowding the prisons, and will soon be invading and occupying the next country that the self-obsessed elite order them to? Maybe instead of donating money to charities, these damn narcissists could donate some of their abundant self-amazement to those with confidence insecurity. And when they see all those gloomy faces light up, they can say, "I did that! And by making the world a better place for me, I made it slightly better for these people. Now they'll feel great about trimming my hedges. I better gift myself right away." Well, I sure hope you enjoyed what I just said only 1/3 as much as I just enjoyed myself say it. Tim Roth is joining us tonight, starting with his acclaimed portrayal in Alan Clark's Made in Britain and continuing through roles in films like Vincent and Theo, Reservoir Dogs, Rob Roy, and Invincible. Tim has proven to be a greatly versatile actor with an abundance of integrity. We'll see him in several films in the coming months, including a leading role in Francis Ford Coppola's Youth Without Youth. Tim, it's great to have you here.
Good to be here, thank you.
So, let me just jump right into this immediately. You just did a film with Francis Ford Coppola, who's one of my great heroes. And for a while, I thought he'd never do a film again. And here you are starring in it. What's Youth Without Youth about?
It's about somebody who's confronting the end of their life. I think it's about, taken from a Romanian novel by Mircea Eliade, who was a theologist and a linguist, and it's about his kind of take on age and aging, and how the story is of a man who's at the end of his life, who through some kind of cataclysmic event gets another shot and becomes young again. And so it's the study of that, really, which I think Francis in his later years was interested in exploring.
I read that at one point when you were very young, you wrote Coppola a letter.
Yeah.
That's true?
It is true. What happened was when I decided to be an actor, which was, I think I was around the age of 17 or 18, and I didn't know the process, how you go about getting an agent or any of that stuff. But so I decided to write to a group of directors, and I think there was Kubrick and Scorsese and Truffaut and Coppola. And I got a camera, you know, and a tripod and one of those flexes and took some pictures like that, and I spots and all, and then wrote, "Dear Mr. Coppola, I really like your movies. If ever you need an English actor, I'm your man," you know, and all that kind of stuff. And thought nothing of it. And then years later, I came to America, and I was auditioning. I had to go and meet with Francis. He was at that time going to do a film of On the Road of the Kerouac. But this is years and years ago. And he was interested in me playing William Burroughs, and I went to meet with him in this church. He said, "I've got something to show you," and he reached in his bag and he brought out this letter. And it was written in biro, you know, and it was an amazing thing. He said, "I keep everything." He said, I really do." He said, "I keep everything," and it really meant something to him that I would take that shot. You know, I guess he'd been keeping an eye out. And apparently I followed it up with a phone call as well. But I don't remember that bit, but he does. Trying to get in touch with him by phone. But no, I mean, it paid off in the end, because I ended up, again, later, I ended up working with him.
What's it like working with Coppola?
Well, it's very intensive. It's very every day is very, very dense. Generally, you feel like you've worked a week at the end of a single day. And we shot the whole thing, pretty much the whole thing, out in Romania, with a very small Romanian crew. Most of the other actors didn't speak English; it wasn't their first language. It was a tough haul. But you come to the work in the morning, and he'd have come up with some bizarre idea, and you. Really, every single day you had to be prepared to throw the script away and just jump in, you know. And I think he has a reputation of doing anyway.
Well, that's why I wanted to ask you, because I've read here and there that he will do rewrites a moment before shooting or during lunch. He'll go, "Okay, here's the new version."
He'll almost do them while you're filming, while the camera's rolling. I mean, I like quite often for directors to call out during takes if there's, you know, and direct while the camera's rolling. And that was a thing that I got together with Francis on. So he would call stuff out and try to do this, you know. Give me something in Albanian, you know, whatever. And I mean, it's a very strange world, working in Francis' world. It really is, but it's worth it.
Have you seen the film?
I've seen a rough cut. I haven't seen the finished thing. I saw a rough cut a while back, and I know it's changed a lot since then. He's working with Walter Murch, on the editor who did The Conversation. It's a very odd film. It's a very personal, very strange film. And the things that he was experimenting with when he was making it, I'm very interested in seeing. It's not a shoot 'em up in any way. You know.
You do a lot of work. Do you generally watch finished product?
No, rarely I watch the stuff that I'm in, and I try not to see anything on the set, or I don't watch things when I've been on, you know, in interviews, or I don't read reviews, good or bad. I don't even see photographs if I can help it.
Why? I can understand reviews and all of that, but why not watching the films when they're finished?
Depends. Generally, I mean, because quite often the experience of making it is the thing that you should hold on to, and not necessarily what has been done to it afterwards. Sometimes, that's not a golden rule with me, but it quite often is the case. And you know, I want to see what Francis has done, and there are certain exceptions I'll make, but on the whole, you know. And some of them also I find so unpleasant, films that I've been in, you know, just the subject matter. Yeah. I don't really want to see them.
No, I can understand that. What roles attract you, and what roles do you avoid?
I tend to... what really attracts me are things generally where I'm terrified, you know, where you sit down and you read a story and it's an intriguing story, and then you think, I don't know how you do that. That'd be a terrifying thing to do. I don't know if I'm capable of doing that. That stuff is what's really attractive to me. The other stuff of the knockoffs of Reservoir Dogs and stuff like that don't attract me in the slightest.
Yeah, I figured there probably would be a lot of things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, you generally get, you get a cover letter that says, this is, I think you'll like this. It's a kind of cross between Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs, and you generally bin that one. Yeah. Oh shit, I just taught myself out of a job. Somewhere someone's going, fuck him then. Yeah. But what's appealing, what would be appealing is, for example, I did a play with Sam Shepard play last year or a couple of years ago, and we just did it in a tiny little theatre, 100-seater, a limited thing of 3 weeks, but I hadn't been on stage for, I think, about 20 years, and so that was, putting myself through that was really fascinating.
So you enjoy the film roles that you think are almost impossible, or it's refreshing?
Yeah, I mean, I went through a phase of really becoming bored with being an actor. And I'm sure as a musician, you must at times, I mean, I don't know, but it's like constantly being on tour. I'd had enough, and I'd lost any kind of, it didn't inspire me. And then directing, actually, at the end of directing, when I saw what Ray Winstone, for example, and people like that can do, that got the buzz back, if you like. But so I do have a slight masochistic tendency in that I'll take something that I know could damage me or will definitely make me feel something. I did a film at the end of last year with Michael Haneke, who's an Austrian filmmaker, called Funny Games, in which a family are tortured and murdered, but it's a very odd film. It's a very delicate film, and I played what would traditionally and stereotypically be the sort of the girly role, the one that can't help save his family, the one that's constant, that's immediately physically indisposed, and who all of that, and breaking down and all of that stuff. And that was a very difficult thing to do. Come in the morning at 9 o'clock and start crying, and then you finish crying at 5. It's very, very hard work emotionally, and it was only for about 5 weeks that I did it, but it was, I think, the toughest thing that I've done in a long, long time. And that I felt afterwards, not during, but afterwards, I felt I think I benefited from it.
What drew you to acting? Is it in your family? Did you have friends in your neighborhood who acted, or was this all on your own?
No, there's no one in my family that wanted to. What happened was I was due to go to art college. That was kind of something that was in my family. It was drawing and painting and stuff like that. And then, so I was pretty adept at that. So I got myself a place in an art school. But I did a play as a joke at school. I auditioned for a play as a joke and got the part, and then had to do it in front of the audience of pretty much all the bullies at school, and decided that I really liked it. So then I pursued it from that, and I found there was a teacher at school who saw something in me and decided to push me down that road, and that's really why. I did perform as a kid. I mean, in the sense that I performed my life, pretty much as a kid. I'd say 80% of it, but and so that's good training. But for me, acting was something that posh kids did. It wasn't something that was given to the working class or to lower middle class families. It just wasn't. Until you see people like Ray Winstone, and then you think,
You got into acting when you were very young.
Well, I didn't.
Well, as a teenager.
I didn't consider it acting. I think that's what really... I became an actor when I left art school, and I decided to call myself an actor. And the only way that I could figure out of doing that was to go down to the welfare, to the dole office, and sign on. And so I went down there and signed on, and they said, what do you do? And I said, I'm an actor. So they filled it in, actor, and that was it. And then I never signed on after that again. But that was my claiming the title. But previously, since I was a very little kid, I had, I suppose unconsciously, I'd been auditioning. And I remember walking down the street when I was very little, 3 or 4, and acting walking, just in case someone drove by and saw that kid walks better than, that's just what I need for the movies, whatever. I was even at that point. And then when I was 11, I lived in a posh neighborhood, although we didn't have much money. We lived in a fairly wealthy neighborhood. And you had to take exams to get into the schools in our neighborhood, and I didn't pass any of them. So they sent me to a school in South London, a place called Brixton, which is a predominantly black neighborhood. Still is, I believe. It was a tough working class neighborhood. And I arrived with an accent that was the product of living in a fairly low middle class, and got the shit kicked out of me within minutes of walking through the gates of the school. I was getting constantly beaten. And that's when within a week, I developed a sort of a London accent, some kind of noise that didn't make me stand out. That was the beginning of that was my first dialect, in fact. And in a way, that was training for what I'm tending to do now. But that was the beginning, and that was hiding, creating a character that wasn't you, putting that out there that would protect you. Was pretty much the beginning of being an actor. And in a way, that was the training I had for what I'm doing now.
Do you think if you had stayed in England, would you have the same level of success that you've had in America?
No, I think that that came as a result of being fortunately around at the time when the independent thing was hitting in America. But no, I left because I was unemployed. I constantly unemployed in Britain, as most actors are. And are anyway. But there was, this is the centre of the film industry, and this is where you have to come if you want to be a film actor. I would have, I think, I would have done a lot more theatre. I would have been at the National probably. I would have done bits and pieces on TV, and I probably would have ended up in a cop show.
Right.
Yeah. Wishing I wasn't.
Well, it sounds kind of fanboy, but I'm a fan of you and a big fan of Francis Ford Coppola. He's one of those guys you grew up with, and
it's
so
a very
fantastic.
Experimental film that he's made.
I'm looking really forward to it, but I'm very much looking forward to watching you work being directed by him. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah. So thank you for being coming down to our humble place, and thanks for the interview. Right on. Great. Coming up later on the show, an exclusive musical performance from Robyn Hitchcock and the Venus 3. But first, a letter from yours truly. Dear Mr. Allen, I've been watching your films since my mother took me to see Take the Money and Run and Bananas. In high school, I worked at a movie theater, and we had your films there for weeks at a time. We played Annie Hall, Love and Death, and everything you ever wanted to know about sex but were afraid to ask. Tickets were $3.50. They don't make movies like that anymore. Well, actually, you do, but you remain an anomaly in the multiplex. The type of moviegoer who would pay $9 to park their car, $25 for 2 tickets. I'm afraid to think how much for some popcorn and drinks, just to sit amongst chatty strangers armed with cell phones and adult attention deficit disorder wouldn't want to watch a Woody Allen film anyway. You don't make films where everything has to blow up and re-blow up in parts 2, 3, and 4. Come to think of it, I can't see you paying out all that money and going to see one of those films either. So when the mall theaters across America close down, as the cash-strapped masses retreat into the darkness of their home theaters to watch the latest DVD, and there's only small independent theaters left, I'm not sure you'll notice at all. I could be wrong about this, but it seems to me that you only make the films that you want to make, and you're not that concerned about the Oscars, fame, Hollywood, or all the other things that entertainment types get caught up in. It could very well be that the films that Hollywood is churning out as fast as they can will be their undoing, and they may fall so hard and so fast under the weight of their greed, self-satisfaction, and lack of creativity, they may not be able to get up again. And I have a feeling you might not notice that either, as it will not affect your next film at all. I think that's pretty cool. Henry. Tonight's musical guest is Robyn Hitchcock. Robyn has been writing songs and recording albums steadily since 1976, when he got his start with the Soft Boys. Besides doing music, Robyn writes short stories, paints, and draws. And tonight, he's performing with the Venus 3. The new album is called Ole Tarantula. And here to perform the title track, this is Robyn Hitchcock and the Venus 3, live and uncut.
This is Ole Tarantula with no introduction.
Old tarantulas got me humming. Out in the desert, the cacti are home. Tarantulas cluster in their underground dome. Ole, tarantula. Furry black legs and a spicy goatee. If you see Gino, won't you kiss him for me? Ole, tarantula. Through the dark window, she squeezes her eggs. Out they come tumbling on their spindly legs. Ole, tarantula. I feel like a three-legged chinchilla, standing on a table so wide I can't see over the side. Look at his fingers caressing the keys. If he don't please you, you just can't be pleased. Ole, tarantula. Guiding it in through a spiky black fist. If she don't kiss you, you'll never be kissed. Ole, tarantula. I knew a woman in San Francisco, or maybe it was down in San Jose, I don't recall. About me, tarantula. All life is sinful, the Catholics say. Use it up quick and then you throw it away. Ole,
That's our show for tonight. Thanks again to my guests, Tim Roth and Robyn Hitchcock in the Venus 3. See you next time.